It's the best and worst of last gen, reminiscing about the last generation of consoles as we move into the new one. Best, the addition of video on demand services for pretty much every console of this generation. Now, while this entry may not be a factor for all owners of a last-gen console, it certainly was the very first time where most people had an on-the-fly video-on-demand service in their homes. Now, previously to this, services such as Netflix did offer a separate box that you would have to either rent or purchase from the supplier in order to actually have their video on-demand services over the internet. So it just was a no-brainer. Instead of forcing people to buy an additional box to get movies and their favorite TV shows on demand digitally over the internet, why not add this into the current line of gaming consoles? And so over the lifespan of the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, and yes, even the Wii, we did see the addition of video on demand services in various different ways, ranging from Netflix to Vudu. I could probably sit here and name about a dozen of them, but most people get the gist. And of course, each company had their own proprietary video on demand service as well. And if you have a cable box and necessarily it doesn't have the widest lineup of things available, especially television shows on demand, this was an amazing thing to be able to buy a season and just watch things at your leisure. So it really took us into the next digital generation with the last generation of consoles. Worst, hardware issues. Oh boy. So, if you've been around the block and you were involved with the Xbox 360 anywhere near its earlier years, you are definitely going to know what I'm talking about when I say the red ring of death. The Xbox 360 beat the PlayStation 3 to the retail market a full year ahead of time, but one has to wonder if they really cut serious corners in order to do so. Upon its release, nearly 25% of people who purchased the console were reporting some kind of graphical issues, bugs, and eventually the fact that the console would blink with a red ring and just wouldn't output video anymore. Now, I believe it was later found out that this was due to heating and some kind of a adhesive that was melting, and it would cause the video card to either melt or malfunction. And in Microsoft's defense, yes, they did actually extend the warranty of the original Xbox 360s to 2.5 years outside of its original, I believe, 1-year agreement, and they did put out quite a ton, I mean thousands and thousands of replacement red-ringed Xbox 360s. In fact, within my lifespan of playing the Xbox 360, I have owned, I kid you not, 10 of them. 10 Xbox 360s because I had so many different errors. Now, the PlayStation 3, on the other hand, wasn't so bad. However, there was this issue that did happen in a very small percentile, especially with those who used their PlayStation 3s over a very large extended period of time, called the yellow light of death. Unfortunately, I also suffered that just about a month before the release of Beyond Two Souls, which was pretty much one of the last console exclusives that I wanted to get on the console before the release of the PS4. So the hardware issues certainly plagued us in the last console generation, at least from initial reports of people who've gotten their PlayStation 4s and Xbox Ones, including me. We haven't seen these hardware issues, so maybe these game developers finally learned their lesson. Up next, with great power comes great responsibility. Find out another thing that's turned out to be a double-edged sword in the last generation of console gaming.